No. Lizzie. You just have to look on there. Hello. Hi everyone. We're just waiting for Lizzie to join in. You should get the closer. Ooh. There we go. We're just waiting for Lizzie. Welcome everyone. So excited that you could join in. Hello from wherever you are around the globe. The globe. Australia, New Zealand, Asia. Oh, Sienna, lucky girl. What did you get? Lizzie hasn't requested. Oh, she has. No, that's... Sorry, we're just waiting for Lizzie to jump on. Oh, from Australia, from Clifton Beach. Very cool. Hi, Lizzie. Hey, Lizzie.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. All right. Thanks everyone for joining in. I know Harriet and Lizzie are both very excited to chat with you all. But basically, I just want to quickly say, you know, for me, talking about body image is so important from my point of view and from JOLYN, because our mission here at JOLYN is to inspire women to feel beautiful in their own bodies and to be proud of who they are and know that they're capable of anything. So for me, it's really important that every single girl that is a part of our community knows that they are loved and that they have beautiful bodies, no matter what shape or size. And I believe body image is such an internal battle that we all deal with every single day. You know, like no matter your weight, your age, your size, your shape, it's something we all experience. And so today I've got Harriet Brown and Lizzie Welborn, who are both Iron Women and great ambassadors of our brand. And some of you may be thinking, you know, like, what would they know about insecurities and body confidence? They're, you know, two both beautiful women, both inside and out. But they're here today to chat to you about some of their issues and their personal struggles that they've had over the years and how they dealt with them. So welcome, girls. Thanks for having us.
How good.
Just before we begin, I'd like to just make a little disclaimer. So what we're going to talk about today is just general stories, ideas, and the journey that we've been through, as well as some tips along the way. It is by no means personal advice. If this brings up anything with you, then it's important that you do seek help. Butterfly Foundation, see your GP, dietitian, psychologist. There are so many different places that you can go to seek help if these bring up any issues. But what we're going to talk about is body image, because it is important and we have lived experience. We're both professional athletes. We race in swimmers, which is on TV, very exposed, and we've had lots of things that we've had to deal with along the way. So we'll be sharing a few of those as we go. Just before we jump right in, another reason why we've realized how important this is we did a little Instagram story during the week on Friday, and we asked you whether sometimes you feel like you compare yourselves with other girls, and 95% of you said yes. So if that was you, you're not alone. We also asked you if you sometimes feel self-conscious about your body. That was also 95% of you said yes. We had 2,500 girls reply to this. So it's obviously something that you're either passionate about, concerned about, or you just want to know more and make sure that you're not the only one feeling like this. And 94% of you said that you wish that there was something about your body which you wish you could change. So
we're all massive numbers.
Huge. It's
That's
huge.
Massive.
But it doesn't surprise me. Does it surprise you?
No, not at all. Like every single day, you know, you look at yourself in the mirror and it's like, damn, I wish my eyebrows were darker, or damn, I wish, you know, my arms were slightly smaller. Like we all think negative things throughout the day about our own bodies. So it, yeah, definitely doesn't surprise me.
We sure do, but it is something that we do need to work on, and we do need to try and get better at that, because self-criticism isn't very helpful, and we need to learn a little bit more self-love.
Yeah.
So why do you
think it's so important to talk about body image? Like, I know you've just said that it's something we all deal with, but like, why is it so important to you?
I think it's really important because I think it's something that we don't often talk about. I think there's so many issues ingrained in just sport and culture in general that has to do with body image, and whether that's your own thoughts and feelings about your body, or whether that's judgment on someone else, or whether you think someone's judging you. And there's so much that goes on that we don't talk about honestly and openly to try and help ourselves through this. So I think that it's important that we do talk about it. Obviously, everyone's got thoughts and feelings of their own body. It's not to do with what your body actually looks like. Generally, it's just what's going on in your own head. So it's important to get that out and open, and we'll talk about it from there.
Yeah. What about you, Lizzie? Like, why is it so important to you that, you know, we talk about body image and bring the topic up?
I think that a lot of girls are scared to talk about body image because we we assume, like, I feel like people believe that we should all just be happy with our bodies and that it is it, but it's definitely not that easy. And as the polls show, like, everyone struggles with body image. And kind of going off what Harriet said, like, there is a big internal battle. We are our own worst critics, and it's hard to wrap your head around the fact that all your judgment is coming from completely yourself, and that is a really hard thing to deal with, and we're all struggling with it. So I think it's important to talk about so that it's all the girls here today know that we're all in this together and you're not alone.
Yeah, I love that. So talking about that, you know, what's the worst thing that you think about your body? Like, on a daily basis, what is it? You know, you being so beautiful, you're so fit, you know, people look up to you every single day and think that you have the most amazing physique and they want to be you. So what are you insecure about, and what do you struggle with?
Yeah, so this is like a great place to start, because me and Harriet were very not nervous, but we were a bit concerned about talking about body image, because we had a couple of comments in the question that because we have good bodies, we're not allowed to talk about body image because we should have it all under control. But that's definitely not the case, and every single girl, no matter what size, does struggle with body image. And my story, it starts with, I have an insecurity, and it's ridiculous, and I always struggled to talk about it because I thought I would be judged for talking about it. And that insecurity is that I always felt insecure of my stomach, and I couldn't tell you why, and saying it out loud even sounds ridiculous as well. And that's why I never spoke about it, because I thought no one would understand why that was the case. And I don't even understand why, but it's just always been an issue for me, and it just felt like my stomach didn't fit my body, and it made me feel uncomfortable. And luckily enough, me and Harriet have both listened to this podcast, but Hugh Van Cuylenberg, who runs the Imperfect podcast, did a great episode in season 2, episode 4, with Sam Willoughby, who's an ex BMX rider. And at the end, it's a really great podcast, and I recommend it to everyone here today. But
We'll pop it up on the story.
We'll pop it up on the story after.
Yeah.
At the end, they talk about being ashamed of things and how to deal with that. And in summary, he says that the first thing, when you see a picture of yourself, the first thing that you look at and judge yourself of is usually what your shame or insecurity is. And the best way to deal with that is to talk about it. And so I decided I would start to talk about this insecurity of mine, because I never really had before. And it has been a lot better since talking about it. But yeah, and it just, in summary, like, it goes to show, I know, like, my rational brain tells me that it's ridiculous to be insecure about my stomach, but I am. And we are all dealing with something. And yeah, that's just like pretty much the summary that I wanted to say. This is all about, like, accepting ourselves for who we are and what we can do.
I love that you do that. Like, I think it's really cool to kind of basically dive into what is so hard and raw, and it's obviously something that has bugged you and eaten away at you for so long, to finally be able to tackle it. What made you decide that you wanted to, you know, finally tackle it and, you know, start to love your body for what it is?
Well, in the podcast, he said the only way to deal with your feelings of shame or insecurity is to talk about it out loud, because generally that makes it seem less of a big deal than what it is. And that's what I decided to do. And I thought that because I had been bottling it up for so long, because I thought people would understand, talking about it did make it feel better. It has helped me in my journey in loving my body.
Perfect. What about you, Harriet? What's one of your insecurities?
Yeah, like Lizzie, I find this really difficult to talk about, and I think that it was hard. We got some comments come through saying, "What do you girls know? You're all great athletes. How do you have an opinion on this?" And I think that you never know what's going on in someone's head and what's going on in someone's life. Just because someone looks a certain way and you think that that might be a nice thing to look like, I think that you can never judge someone and never know what's going on behind their, like in their mind. And
I'm just going to butt in. Like, I remember speaking about that. This is years and years and years ago. We posted the most beautiful photo of you, and someone commented, "Get that girl a cheeseburger." And like,
yeah,
you know, being one of my best friends, I know how well you eat, and you do like to eat some chocolate, and you do like to enjoy some wine, and you do enjoy those guilty pleasures in life. And to have someone on a social media platform call you out and say, like, you need to eat a cheeseburger, like, it's just so heartbreaking that we're all there looking at everyone's bodies and judging them when, you know, like, everyone is insecure and everyone's
absolutely.
trying to do the best
It's
thing.
like someone looked at me and thought, "Oh, she won't find this hurtful. I'm going to tell her to eat a cheeseburger." Yeah. And I've dealt with that my whole life. Growing up through school, I was pretty skinny, and I was about the height I am now. So I'm 6 foot, and I was about that when I was 14 or 15, and so really tall, really skinny. I used to get called tall timber, praying mantis, string bean, you name them. And it was kind of funny, but also deep down it did make me feel self-conscious about myself. And I remember one time at school in PE class, we did a BMI test, and mine was below what it was supposed to be in the healthy weight range. And I got sent to like the health department. They called up my mom, and mom had to come in, and it was all this big kerfuffle. And I eat a lot, and this was something I was trying to deal with. It was putting on weight, which you know, for as you get older, that's often a struggle with so many people, but everyone's struggle is something that was really different, and that was my struggle. And now things are a little bit different, and my other struggle, which is kind of similar to Lizzie, which is so ridiculous, is when I would, and this sounds even stupid to talk about, but I know that we do need to talk about this, is when I would look at photos, I would look straight away at my thighs, because I have a little bit of cellulite or bumps on my thighs, which is so ridiculous, because that's just so the way that we're made, and that's just how natural we are. But for me, I was uncomfortable with that, and so I'd look at that all the time. And now I'm at a place I don't care, and there are so many things I don't care about, but it's always hard to put that down and be confident in yourself and trying to put past those comments. And they still come through all the time when you're in a public place or a platform and things like that. People think it's okay to judge you or tell you to eat a cheeseburger, or
and criticize you,
things like that.
So you're just saying that, like, you're in a really good place now with your body, and you're happy with, you know, your general look and health and stuff. So how have you been able to build confidence in your body and learn to love your body?
Yeah, so my body hasn't really changed very much.
No, it hasn't. You still look like 12-year-old Harry.
Yeah, so I really haven't changed much. And from when I used to dislike my body to now, my body hasn't changed. So it's not like I've got rid of my cellulite, or I've got, you know, rid of my bones that stick out, or my nose is not broken anymore, or just little things that I notice in myself. None of that has changed. But my perspective, or my acceptance that this is going to be me and I'm not going to be able to change this, that has what's changed. And it's not perfect. I still have days where I feel a little bit down about myself, but I think once you accept that, you know, these things aren't going to be changed, this is you. You are not the same as that girl next door that has, like, you know, really beautiful hair, or like that other person that you see that might have really thick and dark eyelashes, because mine are really blonde. But it's it's fine. We're all different. And I think acceptance for me is the
makes
main
us
thing.
unique. It makes
And
us who we are.
it goes to show that absolutely no perfect body, and it's really, really hard to reach a point like where you'd be completely happy with your body and don't think about it. Because I used to think that one day I would reach a point where I would never think about my body because I would just be happy with it. But I don't think that, I think that's a really unachievable goal. That's all about just accepting ourselves for who we are, and like accepting the things that we're insecure about and trying to deal with them, not trying to make them go away.
Definitely. And I think it's a work in progress. And there's some days and weeks where you feel really good about yourself and you're in a good spot. And that's usually mentally. It's not because your body looks any different. And then other days that you really struggle with it. So
on the days that you guys struggle with it, like how do you deal with the negative thoughts, Lizzie?
Well, me and Harriet have put together a nice little list of start off with how we can deal with like bringing back our confidence when we're having those bad. So we each have, and I'll start. So I always like to wear clothes that make me feel good. So put on the clothes that I feel the most comfortable in and think that I look good in. And there's no pressure to wear certain clothes because other people do. Like just wear the clothes that make you feel good. And like that's a funny thing that's like really particular for athletes, because sometimes we struggle to find really nice clothes that we feel comfortable in. We have disproportional bodies, so like we have massive upper shoulders and backs, but like for me I have really narrow hips, so like it's sometimes a massive struggle to find something good. But when I'm feeling insecure, I always put on the things that make me feel the best. I like to think about all the incredible things that my body allows me to do, such as being an Iron, being fit and being able to go out and surf and do all things. Another tip is that if you're in a sport where body image is tough and it's hard, it's always a good idea to go and spend some time with people outside of your sport and talk about it, because they might be able to do you better and it'll give you a perspective from that within your sport. Looking in the mirror and saying out loud the things you love about yourself is always a really nice way to just give yourself a bit of a boost, and saying it out loud is really important because it makes it more real. And I always remind myself that we are our worst critics always, and there is usually no one judging you. It's all a mental game with ourselves, and the people around you are probably loving you and not being critical. It's just us. And the most important thing is to remember that people love you for who you are and not what your body is like, and your personality will always be the biggest asset that you have. So I go back to that, because I know that the people who are closest to me don't love me for my body, but they love me for who I am.
That's very true. I love you for who you are, Lizzie.
And that's the most important thing to remember, and we sometimes lose sight of that.
We definitely do. Like, so do you girls have any
my tips?
Yes.
That's what
I was going to say.
Just so we don't lose all of them. So for me, the things that make me feel confident in my own skin is to do the things that make me feel happy and that I really enjoy. So whether that's like going out for a surf, or if I'm not feeling like that, maybe cooking something so that I'm really proud of what I'm baking, or doing something at home that just makes me feel good about myself. So that is number one. I like to surround myself with people that build me up, not bring me down. You've all been around those girls or guys that say nasty comments, or, really bring you down, or talk about those things that might be very focused on body image. When I'm not feeling great, I like to be around my friends that we talk about so many other things going on in the world rather than just that focus. So people that bring me up and build me up and talk about me rather than...
How do you, like, speaking about that, how do you remove yourself from people that do have those negative thoughts?
Yeah, sometimes it's really hard, because sometimes you're surrounded by, especially in like a surf club or a swim club, sometimes I will just remove myself from the conversation. Sometimes I'll try and turn it around and make it into a positive. So if they're, say, talking badly about a girl, I might be like, well, hang on a second, like, she's so strong, or this is what it does. I'm also, sometimes not great at it, and I might find myself in that situation and then think, okay, I'm going to spend more time with the girls in my squad that are really positive. And that's probably where it ends up, is just spending time with the people in my squad that I feel are really positive about training, or we can really level on the same ground. So
you really got to be aware of your surroundings and what people
it's hard to do. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Another thing that sometimes helps is if you sign out of social media for a little while, if that's something that triggers you. So if you're seeing all these photos and you're not feeling like that's helping you, sign out from that. But another thing that I like to do is unfollow people who don't make you feel good about yourself, but following people that you can aspire to be like. So as in, like, for me, I follow some tall girls because I'm like, oh, they're just like me. Like, I can relate to that. Or, you know, if you're shorter, follow girls that are short and doing great things, or someone with freckles, or a bigger girl, or a skinny girl, or a dark girl, or a girl with long hair or curly hair, or you know how it is. Like, following the people that are similar to you, because it makes you see the beauty in those things that you might not like about yourself.
That's really nice. I've never thought about that. I mean, it is hard to tell height on social media, but everything else, I think.
Yeah, but yeah, just
I guess you.
I follow tall girls because I find it hard to find things to wear, so I look at what they're wearing.
What they're wearing.
That's good. For inspiration. Yeah, so I think that's they're my tips. Just little tangible things that we can all do to help change our negative thoughts to something that we can love our body about.
Do you want to dive into more with dealing with your negative thoughts?
Yeah, so obviously there are times where you are dealing with negative thoughts about your body and it's hard to get out of. So it might be just like, oh, I feel like this today. Oh, I feel like I look like this. And that thought can just keep going and going and going. And it's really hard to get yourself out of that. And it's really hard sometimes to get up and go swimming and put your swimmers on and get out there and be confident. I think the first thing is to acknowledge that everyone has days like that. From time to time, especially from our poll of 95% of girls feeling self-conscious, like we're all going through that. So firstly, acknowledging that. Secondly is, where have we got that down? Yeah. Trying to change those thoughts, if you can, into something more positive. So whether you're really, really thinking about your body, trying to think about, if you are at training, say your pull on the water or your technique, or, you know, what the wind is doing. So really trying to be aware of other things rather than focused on yourself and your body, more the things around you. And then another thing, yeah,
chuck in on that one. When I was really struggling when I was an athlete, I remember I found it really hard to do that mentally. Like, anytime I had a negative thought, I couldn't switch it. So
yeah. What did you do?
I'd go home and I'd write it all down. Like, I'd write all my negatives down, and then I'd counteract it with a positive, so that, you know, like, I'd sit there and really think, like, okay, you know, my arms.
As in, what is good about your body?
Yeah, it's like, that's a negative, but what's the positive side of that?
Yeah.
And that really helped to kind of help my mind learn how to switch negatives to positives.
Yeah, and that's awesome, because it's really hard to do.
It's so hard.
And we were even talking about this, Lizzie and I, today, and we were actually like, how do we get out of that? It's a really difficult thing. And switching thoughts and writing down.
Yeah, especially like once you're in that negative frame, it is
and
really
it's
hard.
a journey as well. Like me and Harriet. Harriet is a lot better at doing it than she's older than me. Like, we're all in phases of this journey, and I'm sure, Jess, you're a lot better at doing it now as well, because you're older too. Maybe you're not, but
still learning a lot.
Like, we're all in different spots, so yeah.
And one thing that really helps is no one, like, if you're worried about your body, chances are the rest of the people that you're around are also worried about their bodies. They're not worried about what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you deal with other people judging you? Like, when you know that someone's judging your body for what it is, how do you deal with that, Harriet?
I guess we all live in a world where there is so much judgment, where filled with pictures of people all the time, whether that's through social media, TV, the media, movies, things like that. I feel like sometimes people think it's their right, especially these days, being behind a computer and being behind a screen. I feel like they feel like they can judge that. I don't think that it's acceptable, and I think that we need to call them out. So if you are being commented on your body and you don't like it, you say something. You say, hang on a second, no, like, I've even had my coach say to me once, oh, like, get those skinny arms going. And I was like, no, they're not skinny, they're strong.
You have very strong arms.
But just little things like that. So it is hard calling it out. I think talking to people about it rather than bottling it up. So if someone said something to you that's made you feel bad about yourself, you talk to someone, reach out, whether that's your family, parent, and all those other like, you know,
mentors and support team.
support that you've got around you. I think that helps.
I also think, like, sometimes, you know, like in that instance where your coach was telling you to get your skinny arms moving, it could, I mean, like, because we're so critical of ourselves, we take it negatively.
Oh yeah, for
you
sure.
know, like, we turn something that someone says into a negative when that person might not mean it as a negative. They might actually just
not at all.
say it in passing and not even think twice.
Like,
so,
I don't like it.
So I think,
I'm going to say something.
definitely pull someone up so that they're aware that that's something you're insecure about, and they're aware that it's upset you.
Definitely. And I think something like, if we're finding that we're judging other people, then we really need to pick up on that ourselves, because as soon as you start to do that to other people, then
you feel more judged.
Yeah, as
Definitely.
though like that's what's happening a lot of the time. So yeah, it is a tough one, and I think it's always going to happen, but just trying to remove yourself from that, call it out, shut it down, and then be around those people that build you up.
Perfect. Do you girls often find that you're comparing yourselves to the girls that you're training with every single day? And if so, like, how do you stop that? Like, you're surrounded by them and you hang out with them, you know, 7-12 times a week. Like, how do you stop that?
Oh, comparison is so hard. I think we do it with all aspects of life. You know, whether it's our body image or what someone's achieving at uni or life stages and goals and things like that. I think that's something that we do all the time, and it never makes ourselves feel better about ourselves. I think we can always aspire to have goals and have things that we're aiming for, but stay in your own lane. And what I mean by that is just focus on what you've got and what you can control, because chances are, I mean, 100% of the time we've all got 100% different genetics. Scientific fact over here.
That is true.
Oh gosh. Yeah, we're all really different. So it is, you can't compare. You really cannot compare yourself with another person. You can do that performance-wise when you're racing them, but not for what you look like. And I think if you do catch yourself doing that, like looking at someone and being like, oh, I'm trying to think of something, their teeth are really nice. Like, oh, I wish my teeth were like that. Rather than being like, oh, you know, I don't have as good teeth as her. Oh, she's so great. She's got great teeth. Random one.
Teeth is a big one. It's your smile.
Yeah. Rather than doing that, I think we've got to try and change it and be like, how great are her teeth? That's awesome. Rather than, I wish.
Yeah.
I wish I had beautiful hair. I wish I had her skin. I wish I had her boobs. It's like,
Acknowledge
no.
them for their beauty.
They're beautiful. They've got that. Mine's different.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And your mind, like we've all fallen for comparing to others, and the thing that annoys me the most is when I start comparing. Sometimes you say, like, just stop comparing, and then it doesn't stop, and it's a really hard cycle to get out of. And when that happens, I find the best thing to do is to acknowledge that you are comparing yourself to others and just accept that, okay, that's just what I'm doing right now. And by acknowledging it, that usually makes it easier to move on from it and start thinking about something else. Like, don't try and fight it, and then do what Harriet said to that person and say, wow, that person has amazing hair, like, good on her, like, what's something beautiful about me? Just because she has that good hair doesn't mean I have to have that good hair. I've got other things that are beautiful about me.
Someone else probably thinks you have really beautiful hair. If you don't, Someone definitely does.
That's right.
So Lizzie, like you were saying before that, you know, sometimes it's hard with social media when you're scrolling, and, you know, we all know that social media is only a snippet of someone's life. So how, like, I mean, it still doesn't stop us from judging and feeling insecure about it, but how do you follow other girls on Instagram and feel confident?
Yeah, so even though we compare to maybe other people in our squad or the people around us, we all definitely compare ourselves to people on Instagram as well. That's just one of the very annoying things about Instagram and the way it is. But there are a few more things that you can do on Instagram that you can't do in person. So you can unfollow people that make you feel less worthy or upset or less yourself. And I really recommend going through and doing that. So if you follow heaps of models that don't make you feel good about it, then just unfollow them. Like, don't let yourself see that every day. And as Harriet said earlier, follow them that make you feel great and inspire you, make you want to go out into the world and do things. And the most important thing is to really understand no one looks like they do in real life than what they do on Instagram. And like me and Harriet don't even look like what we look like compared to Instagram. We don't look like that in real life all the time. Like, there's just no way. And like, we will always probably post the best photo of ourselves when we're posting a photo, and it's definitely something we can work on. Like, we don't have the best photo of ourselves all the time, and I think that's something that we're going to try and get better at.
You can hold us accountable.
More rawness.
We'll try.
Now, like, we all obviously go through puberty, and it's not really the most enjoyable time of our lives. You know, like, body development through puberty is something that's really tough. And, you know, how did you girls kind of deal with it?
Yeah, so we had a lot of questions about this. I know that there's a lot of young JOLYN girls out there that are asking questions because your body changes, and when you do go through puberty, your body goes through a lot of changes. Everyone's happens at different times. You develop in different ways, and you know, it can be a really awkward stage. And I think another thing to acknowledge is that often our sporting performance suffers in this stage as well, because your body is spending so much energy trying to figure out how to develop and how to become a woman that it's actually really hard to have your best performances at that stage. So if you're going through that and you're finding that you're not racing as well, please hang in there, because when you get out the other end, because a lot of girls drop off around that puberty stage, and when you get out the other end, it's just, you can get so much fulfillment and so much joy from staying in sport. So whilst it's not to do with body image, that one, it's just being aware that those changes happen to everyone, and you will get out the other side, and you will begin to learn to use your body better. But just one little story from me, my example of when I was dealing with going through puberty is I went to France for an exchange for 2.5 months, and when I was at home, I never really thought about what I was eating. Mum and Dad cooked really healthy food. It was great. I never really thought about food as putting on weight or anything like that. I went over weighing 60 kilos. 2.5 months later, I came back weighing 70 kilos. So I put on 10 kilograms in 2.5 months. And I
Easy to do.
never thought about weight in my whole life. And then I realized that, oh, that's puberty. Oh, wow. Got back home and everyone's like, whoa, what have you been doing? And then I got the opposite comments. So that was just a big adjustment. And another thing from that is I found that I was really struggling to train well and race well until I really started to adapt to my body. But the baguettes and croissants in France,
Delish.
delicious.
How about you, Lizzie? Like, I feel like I remember you racing, like, you were so quick as a 14, 15-year-old. Did you find you excelled through puberty, and then did you find it, you know, like a decline as soon as your body started to balance out, or did you find you still excelled more after puberty? Like, how was that for you?
So puberty for me was a bit different because I was very late to the party. So I stayed like a little pre-adolescent girl for a very long time. A lot of girls when I was like 14, they all grew and went through puberty. They became really strong board paddlers and swimmers, and I could not keep up with any of them because I was just still so small. And so when I did start like training hard, I feel like I had to work like hard to make sure that I could keep up with them because I hadn't grown yet. So there's heaps of benefits to going through puberty to make you stronger and faster, like in general. But on the other side, so as I said, I was very my friends went before me, so they all got boobs and like got their nice like womanly before and I felt like very out for not going through puberty when I felt like I didn't fit in. Like people always that I had no boobs and feel so flat chested, blah blah blah, because I hadn't gone through puberty yet. And I even at school, my friends would tell me, "Eat and like it'll make your boobs grow." Or so like everyone goes through different times, and that'll be a struggle for every, depending on when the time is. But it's not. Don't think of it as weird. You aren't going through time is what your friends are like. Something that we have to deal with on our own, unfortunately.
It is.
Now, I'm going to jump in there. We've just talked about how we dealt with our bodies changing. Now, Jess, you used to be, if anyone didn't know, Jess raced for Australia multiple years for long distance swimming and surf swimming. And so she was an incredible athlete. Now she is a boss lady, business owner, and has a little baby,
Fresh
Scotty.
mom.
So obviously there's a big lifestyle change when you go from being an athlete to being a non-athlete. How did you deal with those changes? It's huge.
It really was really tough going from, swimming 10 times a week plus gym and Pilates to not having to be anywhere, not having to do anything. You've got no goals surrounding your fitness. So there was really no need for me to get up and go training. But I think I'm lucky that I love exercising. Like for me, it's a massive endorphin release. And, I still kept eating the same amount. So I definitely put on quite a few kilos. And even, talking about body image, I remember thinking as an athlete, like, I wish, my stomach was thinner. I wish my legs were thinner. I wish, my body was X, Y, and Z. And then now I look back at photos of me as an athlete and I'd love to have that body back, but I just know it's not sustainable. And, I'm a really healthy weight now. And for me, exercise is about being healthy. And for me, healthy is feeling mentally healthy as well as internally healthy. And, as long as the kilos aren't stacking on and I'm, I feel confident, then I don't really get on the scales. But I just think it's finding that balance of what you enjoy and eating to fuel your body for what you want to do.
Yeah. How did you adjust mentally from your body being like your main tool and your main focus every day to then it just being something that you keep healthy, but it's not your tool?
I think I really just changed my goals, and I really took all the time and effort that I focused on swimming into work. And I created work goals. So, if for, the girls listening, if you decide that you don't want to swim anymore full time or you don't want to be an athlete, it's using the skills that you've learned as an athlete and moving them to, whether it's school, whether it's work, whether it's, it's something else that you're passionate about. It helps to maintain that balance. So it's just shifting your goals and shifting where you spend your time and your energy in what makes you happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome.
All right, you've had quite a few injuries, and so Lizzie hasn't had as many, but she definitely has had her fair share, I feel. How have you guys you had a very rough year of illness. So how have you guys kind of dealt with that?
Yes, that was another question that kept kind of popping up is how do you deal with body image issues when you're going through injury? And I think that is something that we all go through and we do need to talk about, because when you are training, you might be training, say, we train up to 16 times a week, and we're, you know, expending all of that energy. And then when you're injured, often it's really hard to train much. So your training completely reduces, which means your energy output is so much less than what it was before, which means that it makes it either really easy to, some people gain weight, some people lose weight and lose muscle really rapidly, and your body just completely changes because your lifestyle is completely different. And I think for me, what I've found hard is just when my body changes and I don't feel like an athlete anymore. So I broke my jaw a few years ago, and that was a massive body change for me because I lost a huge amount of weight. And I remember heaps of people saying, oh, I wish I broke my jaw. And I was just looking at them like, don't ever say that. It was horrible. I couldn't talk or anything.
So Harriet had her whole mouth wide shut for anyone that's
6 weeks, and I could only drink through a straw, couldn't train, couldn't work, and I couldn't talk. So really challenging time for me. But just dealing with body imaging around that time is I lost so much muscle and strength. So then trying to get back into training from there, you start to have doubts. And a lot of my doubts were performance, like I'm not fit, I'm not strong, how am I going to get there? But I think when you're in injury, acknowledge that the changes are going to happen. So you might put on weight, you might lose muscle, you might have to deal with whatever injury that you've got might be long-term, and acknowledging that in that moment, things are going to change. You can't just keep everything as it was. And then accepting that, doing the best that you can to stay healthy in that time. And Lizzie can talk to you a little bit about that in a moment. But I think then when you get back into training, just gradually building back up and giving yourself small goals as you get back up. But yeah, Lizzie, healthy while you're injured.
Yeah, so I like injured yet, but I did have glandular fever for a couple of years ago. And when I got glandular, I had the same thoughts. I wasn't allowed to train, so I thought I'm going to have to like cut what I eat quite a lot so that I don't put on heaps of weight. That's a very common thought at the start. But what I found is that because my body was so tired and exhausted, it actually needed so much fuel to help me get past my glandular. Like it needed as much nutrients as I could give it to recover quickly. So I didn't change what I ate all that much. I still ate 3 meals a day and 2 snacks, like stayed very similar to what I would normally eat. And I still ended up losing weight because my body was just through the nutrients that I was giving it, because it obviously needed it to get better. So yeah, it's a very being sick or having an injury is a very individual journey. But like, yeah, it's all about, just as Jess and Harriet said, feeling good while you're doing it and giving your body what it needs.
Perfect. So anyone that's on at the moment, do you guys have any questions for Harriet or Lizzie? Oh, we've got one. Do the three of you still swim?
So Lizzie and I, we're both still training full-time at the moment and racing competitively in surf lifesaving. We've got Summer of Surf and the Nutrien Ironwoman series coming up soon. And Jess is a retired swimmer. Do you swim at all?
Maybe like once a month I'll get in and have a splash. That's about it, really. That black line's torture.
And do we swim for a club? I'm at Northcliffe Surf Lifesaving Club. And Lizzie?
I'm at Newport Surf.
Tips on starting board training. Ooh, board training's hard. Do you guys have any tips for board training?
Yeah, I was terrible at the start. Spend time on your board. Do focused practice. So rather than just go out and try and bash through the surf, actually think about what you're doing. That will help. And listen to your coach.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Get a coach if you don't have one.
Zoe would like to know, what are goals during this COVID time? So obviously you girls have had so many things cancelled, postponed and changed. Do you how have you been able to set your goals? That's not really body related, but I feel like goals are still important.
It can be body related in a way. Through COVID, a little bit less training going on. I think it's still important to eat really healthy. Sometimes when you you know, you don't have school to go to or work or uni or training, you can get into a bit of a slump. And I found that during COVID, sometimes I would have those really down days that I really didn't feel like getting up and doing things. And I think that what helped me is just being as healthy as I could do. So eating really well, getting out and exercising when I could, and then having small goals, because it was really hard to have like training or racing goals. My small goals were, well, I've had a few little random ones like hobbies like cooking and violin and all those kind of, making my veggie garden, those kind of goals. And then just when I got back into training, it was getting better goals. So being able to make the 120 cycle at swimming at the start, and then like gradually getting better from there. Yeah.
What about you, Lizzie?
That's similar to Harriet, but I'm going to go on a bit of a different way as well. So making goals for us through COVID competitively has been torture, because everything just keeps on getting cancelled. So we set these goals and then it gets shut down. So when stuff like that happens, I've come to realize the goal is to do training and enjoy it and do it because we love being Iron Woman and being at the beach every day and being with our friends. And I really like to come back to that. And I know, because in the comments, like a lot of girls have said, I'm not sure if I should quit swimming or not, or like what advice you have for that. And if you love it and it makes you feel good, then absolutely keep on doing it. You don't have to have a competitive goal. You don't have to win a certain thing, but if you love doing it, just go down there and do it. So even if like we didn't end up competing this season, I still wouldn't regret all the training done, because I loved it. And yeah, I think that's a really good thing to come back to.
I think following off, I think it was Emily who's training 10 times a week. You go, girl, who wants to quit. From my advice, I know I went through a really tough time when I was swimming that many times a week. My advice from my personal experience was drop back the amount of swim sessions you do. Only go swimming when you really want to go and you love it. And, you know, if you lose the love and the passion, then what are you doing it for? You know, like sport is there because we love it, and you love, you know, hanging out with your friends, jumping in the pool. So it's, you know, if you can't find that passion, then see where you can find that passion in maybe another sport.
Also, quickly, goals and relate it back to body image. You might have an awesome goal that requires you to have to change what your body looks like. But if that's the case, then you shouldn't let the fear of your stop you from achieving something that you really want to do. So an example is Harriet. When we do Molokai, our bodies change quite a lot, and you guys might not notice that, but we definitely do. And that sometimes doesn't make us feel very good, but we love doing Molokai and love doing that race. So we accept the changes, and our bodies will go back to what they were before once we've done this, but that we don't race either. So like, want to become a swimmer but you're scared about your shoulders getting muscly, if it's something that you really want to do, then just like, it's an awesome thing and get strong.
Yeah, I agree, Lizzie. Like, you can change goals, and your body's definitely going to change based on that goal. Like, I remember when I was swimming long distance and my body shape completely changed, but it went the other way. Like, I was doing so many kilometers in the pool that I lost so much weight that we worked out I was getting sick every 6 weeks. And, you know, for me, I was getting so many compliments from my friends, like, oh my gosh, you're so fit, you're so skinny, you look so good. And I loved getting those compliments. But, you know, the fact that I was getting sick every 6 weeks and missing a week of training, it meant that I couldn't reach my goal of making the Australian team and, you know, going to World Championships. So I had to do something about that. And that's where, you know, my end goal of making the Australian team was far more important than my body image. And I needed to put on a few kilos to make my body do what it needed to do in the pool. So, you know, like, for girls that have these sporting achievements that they want to achieve, it's looking at how to fuel your body correctly and speaking to a dietitian to find out that information.
Yeah, absolutely. And having your body work for you to be the best you can in your sport. So that might mean you get bigger muscles and, things might change. But I think that if you love your sport and you can do amazing things with your sport, then you've just got to let your body change and develop and grow and get stronger
and appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, and love that it feels stronger and you'll always often struggle to fit clothes around your shoulders, but then you'll be able to dive in the water and swim fast. So, I mean, what's a better feeling? We've been having so many questions through here that are...
We'll get back to them on DM.
Yeah, because there's quite a lot that are really great questions, but not necessarily body image related. So we wanted to try and keep this focus for tonight. Otherwise, we would talk to you for so many hours.
So long.
I think there was just one more... for having broad shoulders, but I've always said that jealous. Yeah, so
how strong I am compared to them.
Yeah, so I was actually talking to a friend today who is really, really strong athlete. At her peak, she was racing at 86 kilos and is an incredibly strong athlete. And I was kind of having a body image talk with her, and she said she's always struggled with her weight, and she's always struggled with being so strong and having such big shoulders. And I was like, what helped you? And she's like, well, I was racing so well and I thrived off that. When I was racing, everything was awesome, and then sometimes you think about your shoulders or you struggle with that. But she just said that she learned to accept that and not care what people say, not care what people think, because she was doing incredible things within her sport. And I thought that because that was a different perspective to me, I thought that was really incredible.
It goes back to flipping that negative to a positive.
Yeah. And loving what you're doing with your racing more so than you care about what someone thinks about your shoulders.
Yeah. And that also links to a question that we got earlier before the live. So I asked what is a normal weight, and there is no normal weight, especially to do like certain things such as race. Like there will never be a normal weight for anyone, depending on who they are and what everyone's normal weight. Completely different.
Absolutely. And another thing I just want to mention is we got so many questions come through about really specific body parts, like people saying, oh, I've got small boobs, is that not attractive? Or I'm really strong and buff, or I've got cellulite, or I'm really tall or really short, I've got acne, razor bumps, six-pack, if I get a six-pack, will I be happy? Like all these really different individualized parts of people's bodies that they were concerned about and asking questions about. And just as a general thing, none of those things make you, ugly or less attractive or more attractive. They're just things, like they're just parts of your body. Everyone's just really different. And I think that, all those things that we all asked about is just something that we are. It's just what makes us us. There are some things that you can look into, like I think someone asked about razor bumps, and there's definitely ways that you can shave or epilate or wax or use different creams that will help to settle that. So we all deal with different things like that all the time. So just looking into different things like that. With pimples and acne, you can go see your doctor because there are different ways that you can address that as well. But then also just realizing that we all go through these times where it's going to be tough. We're going to have blemishes, bits hanging out, hair, like all this stuff that most of the time you're way more worried about than everyone else. And I think that's what it comes down to.
Definitely.
Yeah. And achieving a thing like getting a six-pack will definitely not make you happy. The happiness has to come from within you and how you view what it looks like on the outside.
Yeah, because I guarantee if you get a six-pack, you'll be worried about something else going on in your body.
Yeah, so it's all in our minds.
Absolutely. We also got a question about being a stronger athlete when there's pressure to be feminine or look particular, is what a lot of models on Instagram look like. But me and Harriet both agreed that depending on like who you follow and what environment you're in, there's actually a massive move towards like people admiring really fit, strong and buff women. Like we're like taking over the norm what women are meant to look like. So don't ever be afraid of that. There's a whole community out there that love athletic women. So just go and be a part of them and remove yourself from petite women.
Yay.
Not that being petite is right. If you want to be, that's fine. But there's too
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
There were so many more questions that we did get through, both through the live and also in the through the Instagram story question box, all about food and nutrition.
I think that's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah. So we might look into doing something on that down the track.
Right. Thank you so much, Harriet and Lizzie. I really appreciate you guys taking the time, and thank you everyone that's tuned into the live. We really appreciate you, and we love all your support and motivation that you give us. So thank you.
Thanks for having us, Jess, and really love being involved in such a inspiring brand like JOLYN to be able to do things like this.
Yeah.
Yay.
Bye, guys.